Let's continue with question number 104. Question is that the daily wages of workers in a construction unit were recorded as follows. Class marks of wages are given and number of workers are given. Form a frequency distribution table with class intervals and find modal wage by plotting a histogram. So here the class mark is 275, but it should be 475. So I have class marks of wages 425, 475, 525, 575, and so on. Now, if I want to find class intervals for which these are the class marks, and then I have to plot a histogram, I want the class intervals to be continuous. So when I look at the difference between the class marks, it is 50 units. So 50 units should be the size of my class intervals also. So for 425 as class mark, my class interval should be 400 to 450, and then 450 to 500, 550 to 600, and so on. So if I write down the class intervals, it should be like this. 400 to 450, class mark is 425 with frequency 6. 450 to 500, class mark 475, frequency 12. Like that, the last class interval will be 650 to 700, class mark 675, and frequency 13. Now that I have all my class intervals, which are anyway continuous, and the frequency, I can plot my histogram. So for plotting my histogram, let's say in this question they had not given a scale, but usually a graph question will specify a scale. Here I am taking a scale of, in x-axis I'm taking 2 centimeter as 50 unit, y-axis 2 centimeter as 2 units. So when I'm drawing my x-axis, this is a 2 centimeter box. So therefore I am taking 0 here, 0 to 400 there are no data, so I am putting this zigzag line, which is a break, indicating that between 0 to 400 there is nothing really. So I'm starting my first data at 400, then after 2 centimeter 450, then 500 up till 700, and I'm labeling this as x. And the axis label, what does the x-axis represent, that also is important to write. So it is daily wages in rupees. Then y-axis starts from 0, and every 2 centimeter is 2 units. So 0, 2, 4, 6, like that. And the y-axis represents number of workers. And here I am labeling this is y-axis. Okay. Then for every class interval for a histogram, I have to draw rectangles. And suppose 400 to 450, I have to draw a rectangle with height same as the frequency of that class interval. So I have to carefully look at what is the frequency. Suppose here the frequency was 6. So corresponding to 6, I have to draw a line with a scale, and I'll have to draw the rectangle. Then for the next class interval 450 to 500, frequency is 12. So corresponding to 12, I am drawing the rectangle with that much height. And so on, I have drawn all the other rectangles. So this is my histogram ready. Now I have to estimate the mode. For that, I have to look at which is my modal class. So the modal class is the class interval having the maximum frequency. Here 550 to 600 has a frequency of 17. So that's my highest frequency class interval. So 550 to 600 is my modal class. Now what I need to do is I have to locate the previous class interval and the next class interval, and I have to draw two lines which will intersect. So I have to join 2 points to get a line. So for example, I have to take the previous rectangle's height, which is at 15. So this point and the opposite vertex of this rectangle, I have to join with a scale very carefully. Then I have to look at the next rectangle's height, which is at 7, this point. I have to join this point with the opposite vertex of this rectangle, which is over here. So I have to join these 2 points very carefully. Now, wherever they are intersecting, I have to draw a line perpendicular to the x-axis. So from here, I have to draw a line perpendicular to the x-axis. Then I have to take the reading over here. You will see that because this 2 centimeter is divided into 10 small divisions, the line which I drew is falling in between two small divisions. If this is 550, then I have 1 and second. First and second small division, the line is somewhere in between them. If I want to look at the reading, 550 to 600, this is 50 units divided into 10 small divisions. So each small division is 5 units. So the first small division 5 units, second small division is 10 units. So after 550, the next reading is 555 and the next is 560. Because the reading is in between 555 and 560, you can write your mode any one of the two numbers, but make sure that you are not writing a value which is in between two small divisions, because in between 555 and 600 I cannot guarantee whether it's 556, 557, 557.5 or anything. In case you had further small divisions, then you could have taken a reading according to that. So here I will write my reading for modal wage as rupees 555. Or if you wanted, you could have also written rupees 560. Write any one of the readings but not both. And anyway, because graphical estimation will not be the same for everyone, so there is a range of acceptable answers. So these two answers will fall within the range. You can write any one of them. Next question is from probability. The question is that a bag contains 13 red cards, 13 black cards, and 13 green cards. Each set of cards are numbered from 1 to 13. From these cards, a card is drawn at random. What is the probability that the card drawn is a green card, card with even number, a red or black card with a number multiple of 3, which is a multiple of 3? Then you just need to note down some details given. Here there are cards of 3 colors: red, black and green. So the number of red, black and green cards are all equal to 13. So the total number of cards is 39. 13 plus 13 plus 13. And each set of cards, whether it's red, black or green, each set has a number on the card as well, which starts from 1, 2, 3, all up to 13. Now let's say the first question is asking, if you're taking card at random, what is the probability that it's a green card? So probability for this event is always number of favorable outcome by total number of possible outcomes. Then you just need to look at, to get a green card, the number of favorable outcomes is the number of green cards, which is 13. So 13 out of total 39 possible outcomes, and it reduces to the fraction 1 by 3. So that's the answer. Then what's the probability that the card is an even number? You just need to note down what are the even numbers that are within the range. So we have even numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12 because the cards were numbered from 1 to 13. These are my even numbers. So these are even numbers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 even numbers on each set. One set is red, one set is black, one set is green. So there are 6 even numbers for red, 6 even numbers for black, and 6 for green. So the total number of cards with even numbers is actually 18. So therefore probability of getting even number is 18 out of 39, which reduces to 6 by 13. Then the last part is about something to do with multiple of 3. So you just need to note down which are the multiples of 3 within this range. So multiples of 3 will be 3, 6, 9 and 12. So from each set there will be 4 numbers which are multiples of 3. And they are asking us what is probability that it's a red or a black card and a multiple of 3? So from red, there are 4 numbers which are multiples of 3. From black, there are 4 numbers which are multiples of 3. So total, there are 8 numbers satisfying the given condition. So probability of that event will be 8 out of 39. 8 by 39 is anyway in the simplest form. Moving on to the next question. Now we have these 5-mark graph-based questions. So looking at question 106. For this question, use a graph paper. Scale 2 centimeter equal to 1 unit along both x and y axis. Okay. You have to plot points A 2, 2 and B 6, -2 in a graph and answer the following questions. So before you actually start drawing the graph, you have to look at what points are they asking you to plot. 2, 2 and 6, -2, and here the scale specified is 2 centimeter equal to 1 unit. So you have to make sure that in your 2 centimeter graph paper, you are able to fit all the points. Now you know that you have to plot a point which is having x coordinate 6. So you need this much space in your x-axis. Each unit is 2 centimeters. So 6 units, you need 12 centimeter space. Usually what we do is we draw x and y-axis right in the middle of the paper. But if you draw y-axis in the middle, there won't be enough space to mark the x coordinate 6. So you have to think before you start drawing. And then suppose here I had to draw the y-axis somewhere to the left of the paper so that I am able to fit 6 units on x-axis. Okay. So I've plotted point A 2, 2, plotted point B 6, -2, and some basic labelings are required. Your x-axis, you have to write x and x dash, y-axis y, and at the bottom y dash. Intersection is 0, and just put some numberings, not too many, however is required. And always, because the scale is given, you have to take 2 centimeters as 1 unit. If you take a wrong scale, if you mark 1 here at 1 centimeter, that will not be accepted. Okay, so I've marked point A, point B. Then the question, first part is reflect point A in origin to point D and write the coordinates of point D. Point A has coordinates 2, 2. When I'm reflecting in the origin, the sign of x and y coordinate will both change. So point D will have coordinates -2, -2. So in the graph, if this is point A 2, 2, D will be -2, -2. It's being reflected on the origin. Then part B, reflect point A in the line y equal to -2 to point C and write the coordinates of point C. So you have to first draw the line y equal to -2. Now x-axis equation is y equal to 0. So y equal to -2 is a line parallel to x-axis but 2 units below x-axis. So this line is y equal to -2. You can write that also, y equal to -2. Now I have point A here with 2, 2 and the line all the way here y equal to -2. So you count the distance between point A and the line, the perpendicular distance. So if you count, A over here is 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 units above this line. So the reflection will be the same distance below the line. So below the line you count 4 units. So from here 1, 2, 3 and 4. So I get this point with coordinates 2, -6. So the reflection of A 2, 2 in the line y equal to -2 will give me point C 2, -6. Then next part is find a point P on CD which is invariant under reflection in x equal to 0 and write its coordinates. So if I join CD, I have point C here 2, -6, point D -2, -2. If I join that with a line with a scale, it's cutting the y-axis at this point which has coordinates 0, -4. So P is a point on my y-axis and it will be invariant under reflection on the same line, which is y-axis, and the coordinates will remain as 0 comma minus 4. So that's the answer for this question. P has coordinate 0 comma minus 4. Then write the geometrical name of the closed figure ABCD. So first you need to join the points AB, then BC, CD and DA in that order. You take a scale and join it. And then this figure you have to name. It has 4 sides, so it's a quadrilateral. But then think about the special type of quadrilateral. If you look at the length of the sides, you will find that they're equal. So you can look at with a scale as well and check that all the side lengths are equal. And also if you check the diagonals, if you draw the diagonals anyway, in the next part they're asking about the intersection of diagonals. So if you join AC and BD, you can also check the length of the diagonals. It will be equal length. Both have equal length diagonals. And you can clearly see that the diagonals are perpendicular and they're also bisecting each other. So they are bisecting each other. So that only happens in one quadrilateral, which is a square. So a square, you know that it has diagonals which are equal and which are perpendicular bisectors of each other. So definitely ABCD will form a square. And the last part, which is asking about coordinates of intersection of diagonals, if you just draw the diagonals, they are intersecting at this point and the coordinates are x coordinate 2, y coordinate minus 2. So point is 2 comma minus 2. So once you have drawn this graph with all the coordinates marked, you anyway have to write all the answers in the main answer sheet also. So you have to write the question number and all the subpart answers should be written very clearly. So first was point A reflected in origin, write the coordinates of point D. So you have to write this. Point A reflected in y equal to minus 2, coordinate of point C, you have to write. Then which is the invariant point on line CD? So that will be point P on the y-axis, x equal to 0. They mentioned which is the point on CD invariant on x equal to 0, which is y-axis. So that is point P 0 comma minus 4. And when you're reflecting on the y-axis, the point and the image are the same point, so the same coordinate. Then the geometrical name of the shape ABCD was a square and point of intersection is 2 comma minus 2. Done. Okay. Next question is again from reflection. The question is that here the scale that you need to take is 1 centimeter equal to 1 unit on both x and y axis. So then there are 4 points given A, B, C, D with coordinates. You have to carefully plot them on the graph paper. And then you have to do the following reflections. So if you see A 0, 3, B 4, 0, C 6, 2, D 5, 0. In this question, if you take x and y axis in the middle of the graph, it will be okay because the scale is 1 centimeter is 1 unit. So this much is 1 centimeter. You'll write 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this on all the axes. Few numbers you will have to mark. Then point A is here 0, 3, B is here 4, 0, C is 6, 2 and D is 5, 0. So you have A, B, C, D 4 points. Then they're asking you to reflect A on x-axis to A dash. So A is 0, 3. If you're reflecting on x-axis, image will be below the x-axis. So you'll get A dash 0, minus 3. Then you have to reflect B, which is 4, 0 on the y-axis. So B is on the right side of y-axis, image will be on the left side of y-axis. So it will be B dash minus 4, 0. Then point C is 6, 2. This you have to reflect on x-axis. So the image will be below x-axis, which is same x coordinate 6 but y coordinate minus 2. So you have point A dash, B dash, C dash. These are the first 3 parts, A, B, C parts done. Then question is, D remain invariant when reflected on the line whose equation is dash. Point D is 5, 0. It's on the x-axis. So point D will remain invariant when it's reflected on the x-axis itself, and equation of x-axis is y equal to 0. So that's the answer for that part. Then join the points A, B, C, D, C dash, B, A dash, B dash and A to form a closed figure. Name the closed figure B, C, D, C dash. So because they're asking to join the points, you will start from point A in exactly the order which they are saying. So take a scale and keep joining the points. You will get a closed figure which is something like this. But the next part is to name the closed figure B, C, D, C dash. So only this part of the figure you have to name, not the entire figure. So this part of the figure B, C, D, C dash B. This has 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sides. So it is a quadrilateral. But if you see, D is making a reflex angle in the polygon. So it is a concave polygon. So it is concave and it's a quadrilateral. So you have to write concave quadrilateral. So again, in the main answer sheet, you have to write all the subpart answers. What is A dash, B dash and C dash coordinates? You have to mention that as well. Then the equation was x-axis, which is y equal to 0, that you have to mention. And the name is concave quadrilateral.